Hello, and welcome to our Foreign Language and Area Studies Fellowship informational video. Our focus today will be on helping you to prepare a persuasive and effective application for FLAS funding. My name is Allyson Delnore, and I'm the Executive Director of Academic Affairs for the University Center for International Studies.
And my name is Luis Van Fossen Bravo, and I'm the Academic Advisor for the Center for Latin American Studies.
Luis and I today will help walk you through the process of applying for the grants and then what to do once you receive them.
First, let's talk a little about what FLAS is. The Foreign Language and Area Studies Fellowships is a prestigious and national awards funded through Title VI of the Higher Education Act and by the U.S. Department of Education, administered by centers at select universities that compete for this national prestigious award. And here at Pitt, we have 6 centers that are recipients of this award: the Asian Studies Center, the Center for African Studies, European Studies Center, Global Studies Center, the Center for Latin American Studies, and the Center for Russian, East European, and Eurasian Studies.
So a little bit about how much FLAS is. Undergraduate academic year FLAS fellowships amount to $15,000. That's $10,000 for tuition and a $5,000 stipend. Graduate academic year fellowships are $18,000 for tuition and a $20,000 stipend, or $38,000 total, or in certain cases, up to full tuition and a stipend comparable to a graduate student assistantship at Pitt. For the Summer FLAS Awards, which are also available, those are $7,500, which is $5,000 in tuition assistance for a intensive language program, plus a $2,500 living stipend. You can get more information about the amounts and answers to some frequently asked questions, things that we don't have time to cover in this short video, on the website you see here. That's ucis.pitt.edu/main/FLAS-fellowships, and FLAS is in all capital letters. In particular, this website is useful to see which of the 6 centers at UCIS will cover the language you're interested in studying. You'll need to apply directly to that center, and the instructions for how to do so are on the website. You can apply for languages that are covered by multiple centers. You can apply to each of those centers, but you will only be able to receive one FLAS fellowship in a specific period.
Back to the basic information. Who can apply? The eligibility must be U.S. citizen or permanent resident. Graduate and undergraduate students must be enrolled in a U.S. degree program that combines language training with international or area studies. Undergraduate students must be entering second year of language study or above in target language. Graduate students may be eligible for enrollment in the first year of target language if certain conditions are met. And Allyson, can you talk a little bit about the languages?
Sure. So eligible languages and levels by the center, there's a lot of them because Pitt teaches a lot of languages. So there is a particular priority for less commonly taught and strategic languages, and you can see a list of those languages here, but they range from Amharic to Vietnamese. But there's also some opportunity to study commonly taught languages such as French, German, or Spanish, but only for graduate students and only for advanced language study.
And what are some of the requirements if you receive a FLAS fellowship? For the academic year, 1 3-credit language course and 1 directly related area or global studies course per semester. Courses cannot be taken pass-fail. They have to be taken for a letter grade. Must be enrolled full-time. Graduate fellows may not seek unrelated employment during the fellowship. Undergraduate fellows may not work for the university during the fellowship.
For summer, it's a little bit different. So your proposed program of intensive language study must be approved by a center by the center or the advisor in the center. Your program may be domestic or overseas, but again, it has to be pre-approved. The way that they'll decide whether to approve it is if it meets a minimum of 6 weeks of duration, a minimum of 140 contact hours for second-year language courses, or for people in the advanced level of a language, 120 hours. Now, for the summer, unlike the regular year, area studies coursework is not required. The purpose of the summer FLAS is to devote yourself to intensive language study. And one way that you might do that, if your language falls within the REIS or European Studies area, is to look into the Summer Language Institute, which is run through Pitt.
More specifically, the application process looks like this. November to January in the year prior to the fellowship period, applications become available. Remember to begin your work to work on your essay. Speak with your letter writers. This is very important to let them know ahead of time. And start making decisions about summer academic year coursework ahead of the FLAS application due date. If you're a graduate student, please check with your departmental due date, as they might have different dates, and it might be as early as in early January. The February is the application. The applications are due to the centers. Have a mentor or advisor read their comment on your essays, request official transcripts to be sent well ahead of the deadline, and complete the application form. FLAS decisions will be made in early to mid-March, and if you have not completed continuing language study at Pitt, you will be asked to complete a proficiency examination before your FLAS scholarship can be confirmed.
So many students are going to be applying for these competitive fellowships. So what can you do to make sure your application stands out? Well, some general suggestions, and these are the ones that apply to anything you want. You need to read each prompt carefully. You need to make sure you're answering specifically the prompt being asked. You need to be specific and not general. And you need to make sure that your grammar, spelling, and word choices are accurate. The essays, though, we can give you some more tailored suggestions, because you're asked to do 2 essays to apply for a FLAS fellowship. The first is a 1-page language plan, which asks for a double-spaced statement indicating the FLAS eligible language you propose to study and how you'll combine the language and area studies to satisfy the FLAS requirements. The second is a personal study plan. And probably the biggest mistake that people make is repeating the information from one essay into the other, but they're 2 specific essays. So for the language plan, you want to specifically focus in on how you're planning on learning a language, the specific language you're applying to study during your FLAS fellowship period. What classes will you take? How else will you engage with the language during the year? For example, you could participate in language tables and discussion sections that are happening around. You could cultivate a language partner. You could join a film club in the target language. You could watch Netflix videos in the target language. There's a lot of different ways to attack that. You can talk about your history with that specific language and how you're planning to keep up your language after your FLAS year or your summer of study. This isn't just supposed to be a one-off grant so that you can check off that you learned some exotic language for a year. This should be something that you're continuing to work on even after your FLAS period, and the committee will be looking to see that you have a plan for continuing to make progress and proficiency in the language. Finally, what are the connections between your FLAS language and your specific interests? So you can create a bridge from your current interests into your future plans. The second essay is a personal study plan, and that really focuses on the relationship between your interest in a specific region, country, or global theme and your future plans. Your personal study plan is to be 1 to 2 pages, double-spaced, and again, you want to create that bridge between your current interests and your future plans. you should create a coherent narrative for those things. So for example, a student interested in going to medical school and in studying Chinese might write, I'm interested in Chinese poetry, and when I finish college, I will go to medical school and become a doctor. But those don't really seem all that connected, and the committee's going to have a hard time making the connection. But consider something more like, I'm interested in the ways that Chinese traditional medicine and other Asian medical systems are informed by and differ from medical systems in the US. When I finish college, I'm planning on going to medical school and ideally to work with Asian communities to make connections between Asian and American medical practices. The trick is to be specific, give a brief idea of how you came to the topic, and make sure that you're realistic also about your future plans, but help the committee see how this language is important to your future.
Some more helpful hints. In terms of the letters of recommendation, make sure to speak to your letter writers early in the process. Provide the letter writers with sufficient information about you so that they can write an informed letter and targeted letter. Consider carefully who would make the best letter writers for you. In terms of the transcript, you will need transcripts from each institution where you studied, including all undergraduate transcripts. You need to turn in the transcripts in hard copies or send them directly to the evaluating committee. Pay attention to the deadlines. Consider allowing uses to take your financial needs into account. Check and double check requirements to make sure that your application is fundable.
Finally, what should you expect if you're funded? What are you going to get out of this? For both academic year and summer FLAS fellows, you can expect to receive careful advising and specifically tailored to you from your center advisors who also serve as the FLAS coordinators. You will get pre and post evaluations from your language instructor. That happens automatically through the portal. You'll get a fellows report at the end of term that you'll need to complete about your experience, and you'll be expected to complete that immediately following your FLAS fellowship period. And then you will also be asked to complete follow-up surveys from the U.S. Department of Education up to 8 years after your fellowship year. And this helps them to make a case to the federal government about continuing to fund these extraordinary funding opportunities. For academic year fellows specifically, both graduate and undergraduate, the University Center for International Studies coordinates FLAS Fellows only events and networking opportunities that you can be a part of. You're also going to be able to meet regularly at least once per semester, but more if you need it, with your center advisor in order to map your academic career related to the region or the global issue that you're studying and the language. So that's the information about applying for FLAS from the University of Pittsburgh.
And if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to you, especially to your academic advisor and FLAS coordinator. We thank you for listening to this presentation, and good luck.
Good luck.